I cared for my MIL during cancer while my husband was gone 1 year. Her final words, go back and dig. Sometimes life throws you a curveball so unexpected, so utterly brutal, it doesn't just knock the wind out of you. It rips your entire world apart. I always thought I knew my husband, Michael. I trusted him blindly. But then, one night, scrolling through his old laptop, I saw a picture that shattered everything I believed in, revealing a betrayal so cold-blooded, it still makes my stomach turn. Have you ever felt that kind of gut-wrenching shock? It all started subtly, like a shadow creeping in. Michael and I had scraped and saved for years to buy our little suburban house. Then, 3 years in, Michael's mom, Elizabeth, arrived. When she stepped out of that taxi, my heart sank. I hadn't seen her in 6 months, but the woman who used to be as strong as an oak was now just skin and bones, ravaged by terminal lung cancer. The smell of medicine hit me before she even reached the door. Michael, looking oddly evasive, rushed me. Sophia, get Mom settled. I need to talk to you now. I led Elizabeth to the small downstairs bedroom I'd carefully cleaned, her breathing a harsh, wheezing gasp. She just sat on the bed, frail hand reaching for mine, her eyes full of this strange mix of pity and resignation. She didn't say a word, but her gaze, it unsettled me. When I got back to the living room, Michael was already there, suitcase packed, adjusting his tie. My gut screamed. My woman's intuition, It was blaring alarms. He put his hands on my shoulders, looked me dead in the eye, and delivered the blow. Sophia, I got the board's decision. They're sending me to Germany for a year, a huge project. It's my only shot at regional director. A year? Just like that? My mind reeled. But Mom just got here. She's so sick. You're leaving now. Michael sighed, a performance of distress so meticulously rehearsed it almost convinced me. He said it was a sacrifice for me, for us, for his mother. Look at her, Sophia. Terminal lung cancer. The treatments are a fortune. If I don't take this, where will we get the money? This is for her medicine, for our future. His words wrapped around me like a net of moral responsibility, stifling any objection. He was right. Elizabeth's illness was a bottomless pit, draining us dry. My office administrator's salary barely covered the basics. He pressed a debit card into my hand. The PIN is our anniversary. My salary will be deposited here monthly. Use it for Mom. I'll save what I can to send more. As my wife, as her daughter-in-law, I need you to take charge. My heart, a lead slab in my chest, forced a nod. He gave me a quick hug, his cologne expensive, unfamiliar. Gotta go, or I'll miss the red-eye. Everything's in your hands. The roll of his suitcase, the distant rumble of the taxi driving away in the rain. Then just silence. A terrifying, engulfing silence. I walked back to Elizabeth's room. She was still sitting there, staring out the dark window. She didn't ask about Michael. Didn't cry. She just sighed, a sound as fragile as a dry leaf. He is gone, daughter, she rasped. I tried to hold back tears. Yes, Mom. Business trip for your treatment. Don't worry, I'm here. She turned, her clouded eyes now piercing me with a compassion so deep it made me shiver. She whispered, You poor thing, my child. He is gone. Consider him gone for good. I thought she meant the trip. I couldn't have known she was talking about a deeper, more definitive departure. The departure of her son's humanity. 3 months bled into 3 centuries. My life became a relentless cycle. Office, hospital, kitchen. Always that suffocating smell of antiseptic. Elizabeth's health plummeted. Her gut-wrenching coughs tore through the night, stealing my sleep. I dragged myself to work, dark circles under my eyes, my spirit crushed. My boss had already reprimanded me. How could I focus when every morning I had to clean her, change her diapers, feed her pureed meals? The money Michael sent? A paltry $500 a month. He claimed some bureaucratic issue, work insurance withholding part of his salary. $500 barely covered diapers and painkillers. All other expenses, food, bills, life itself, came from my dwindling savings. Every Sunday night, Michael would video call. A moment I both anticipated and dreaded. He'd appear against a pristine white wall or a quiet coffee shop corner. He always complained, "So cold here, work's brutal, meetings late into the night. No time to rest." But his face, rosy and well-fed, his hair perfectly styled, screamed leisure. I, on the other hand, was disheveled, gaunt. I wanted to scream, to tell him about the sleepless nights, the time his mother vomited blood, my terror. But seeing his important man expression, I swallowed it all. One night, searching for Elizabeth's medical records for a radiation session, I remembered Michael had scanned documents onto his old laptop. He'd left it at home, calling it too slow. I plugged it in. The screen flickered to life, showing our family folders. I found the medical file, but then I saw it. Michael's Google account was still logged in. In his haste, or maybe thinking I was technologically illiterate, he'd forgotten. A notification popped up. Google Photos has synced 12 new photos. Curiosity and a desperate longing for my husband made me click. I expected snowy Germany, foreign colleagues. But what I saw was the deep, impossible blue of sea and sky. A radiant, stunning landscape. The most recent photo, 2 hours old, was a lavish seafood platter with a huge red lobster, sparkling wine. The location tag, a 5-star resort in Miami. My heart lurched. My hand on the mouse trembled. I scrolled. The next photo, the back of a young woman in a bright orange bikini, lounging, cocktail in hand. Sensual, enjoyable, and I instantly recognized her light brown, curly hair. Natalie, Michael's former marketing colleague. The one he'd introduced at the Christmas party as a very dynamic girl, like a little sister. Tears blurred my vision, but I kept scrolling. The third photo, Michael, shirtless, sunglasses, grinning ear to ear. Behind him, an infinity pool and the silhouette of that girl swimming. No Germany. No key project. No snow, no late nights. Just Miami. Golden sun. Blue sea. Expensive seafood. And a mistress. While I was here, in a house reeking of sickness and death, cleaning up after his dying mother, counting every penny to buy her soft food, he, the husband I trusted blindly, was using money he claimed was withheld to fund a lavish, debauched affair. I slammed the laptop shut. The sharp snap echoed in the silent night. Pain turned to nausea, rising in my throat. I looked at my hands. The same hands that moments ago had washed a towel stained with his mother's phlegm. They felt ridiculous. Pathetic. My devotion, my trust, had all been turned into a cruel joke. From the bedroom, Elizabeth coughed again. A guttural sound that tore at my soul. I wiped my tears, not because the sadness was gone, but because I knew, in that instant, I was no longer the docile, self-sacrificing wife of yesterday. Something had fundamentally shifted. Midnight brought a storm, an icy chill seeping through poorly sealed windows. In Elizabeth's room, her breathing became a sharp whistle. She had refused the hospital, wanted to die at home. I sat on her bed, wiping her forehead. The dim light highlighted her ravaged, suffering face. Suddenly, her eyes, already clouded, shone with a strange intensity, like an oil lamp burning brightest before it goes out. She waved a bony hand, searching for me. I took it, ice cold, skin and bone. But she squeezed mine with incredible force, her sharp nails digging in. I didn't pull away. "Sophia, my child," she whispered, her voice broken by the drumming rain. "Michael is a scoundrel. I know everything. I know where he is." My heart clenched. So she knew. This old woman, bedridden, seemingly detached, knew the cruel truth I'd just discovered. And she hadn't said a word, perhaps because the pain was too great. Tears welled in the wrinkles around her eyes, dampening my shirt. She struggled to sit up, pulling me closer, whispering as if someone might hear. "Good daughter, listen. After my funeral, go to my hometown alone. Go to the old kitchen. Dig under the big ceramic crock where we kept pickles, in the corner. I've hidden something for you." Her voice faded, lost in a thunderclap. The hand gripping mine went slack. Her heavy breathing stopped. The room plunged into absolute silence, broken only by the torrential rain, as if it wanted to wash away all the suffering of a lifetime. Mom was gone. I sat there, motionless. No scream, no despair. Just an immense emptiness. The only person left in this house, my silent ally, gone. Trembling, I dialed Michael's number. Ring after ring. No answer. On the 5th try, he replied with a text. An important meeting with German partners. Can't talk. How's Mom? A bitter laugh escaped my lips as tears streamed down my face. A meeting with German partners at 3 a.m. Chicago time? Or a meeting in bed with his mistress in Miami? Rage choked me. My fingers trembled as I typed. Mom passed away. Come home. The read receipt appeared instantly. The only response was a prolonged silence. Outside, the rain poured, cold and indifferent, like the heart of the man I called my husband. I took Elizabeth's cold hand again. Mom, rest in peace. I will go to the town. I will find what you hid. I will not let your sacrifice be in vain. Michael didn't come back. I had expected it, but the confirmation was a cold ash in my heart. He used the excuse of a critical project phase, a multi-million-dollar penalty. He'd make it up to me later. At the funeral, my phone displayed his video call, solemnly placed next to Elizabeth's photo. He appeared in an immaculate black suit, his face contorted in dramatic grief. Mom, I'm a terrible son. I couldn't make it back. Bless me so I can succeed and honor your memory. The relatives, the neighbors, they clucked in sympathy. Poor Michael, working so far away, at least he said his goodbyes. Such a good heart. Some even came to comfort me. Be strong, dear. He left for the good of the family. I bowed my head, feigning gratitude, but inside, I felt absolute contempt. I looked at that face, distorted by fake grief, and remembered the photos of him laughing by the pool with his mistress. His performance was brilliant. If I didn't know the truth, even I might have been moved. But those virtual tears only made me sick. I handled everything alone. Funeral arrangements, cremation, greeting guests. I moved like a shadow, unable to shed a public tear. My tears had dried up long ago. After the cremation, I took the urn and Elizabeth's portrait and headed to her hometown. She wanted to be laid to rest there. Michael had texted me to leave the ashes in a city columbarium, more convenient. I flatly refused. She wanted to go home, to the place where she'd buried the secret of her entire life. The bus rattled away from the polluted city towards the quiet, melancholic Illinois countryside. Elizabeth's old house stood at the end of a reddish dirt road, weeds so high they almost hid the entrance. The rusted iron gate creaked pitifully as I pushed it open. Dampness and mustiness greeted me. I placed the urn on the dust-covered mantel, lit a candle. The smoke swirled in the silent air, a shroud of sadness. That night, I spread a mat on the floor beneath her altar, listening to crickets and wind whistling through a broken window. I couldn't sleep. Elizabeth's gaze from the photo seemed to watch me, stern and pleading. Her last words echoed, under the ceramic crock, where we kept the pickles in the corner of the kitchen. I lay there, eyes wide open, staring at water stains on the ceiling, waiting for dawn to unveil her last secret. I felt utterly alone, yet strangely not afraid. In that desolate place, next to the ashes of a dead woman, I felt safer than in my modern city apartment, where lies and betrayal hid beneath the guise of a happy family. Just as dawn broke, dew still blanketing the yard, I got up, grabbed a small shovel from the shed and headed to the old kitchen, a separate building, abandoned for years. Cobwebs, dampness, cold ash. In a corner, just as she said, was a large, heavy ceramic crock covered in the dust of time. Her pickle crock. With effort, I pushed it aside, revealing a packed dirt floor. My heart pounded. I started to dig. The surface was hard, but deeper down, the soil softened. 2 feet down, the shovel hit something hard, a faint metallic clink. I set the shovel aside, and dug with my hands. A rusty metal tin. A Danish butter cookie tin, wrapped in layers of thick plastic. Trembling, I carried it into the sunlight. The lid was sealed with rust. I had to pry it open with the shovel. Inside, no gold, no jewels. Just a savings passbook from a small community bank and a sealed, yellowed envelope. I picked up the passbook. The number on the first page stunned me. I almost dropped it. $150,000. I rubbed my eyes, counted the zeros. Yes. $150,000. The last deposit was 5 years ago. I couldn't believe it. My mother-in-law, a woman who worked the land her whole life, who dressed so frugally she wouldn't throw away a frayed shirt. Where had she gotten this enormous sum? Then it hit me. 5 years ago, an interstate highway project had acquired a portion of her land through eminent domain. Michael had asked about the compensation then, and she'd vaguely said a few thousand, put aside for old age. Michael, thinking the small-town land was worthless, believed her. He never imagined that patch of dirt held so much value. Why had she hidden it from him? Why had she lived in near poverty, saving every penny, suffering gravely ill, without touching that money for better treatment? I looked at the passbook, then the sealed envelope. Perhaps the answer was there. Elizabeth had hidden that money for 5 years, not a word to her only son. She preferred to suffer, to endure the pain, rather than give Michael a single cent of it. A profound sadness washed over me. She had seen his true nature long ago. She knew Michael was greedy, vain, unreliable. If that money fell into his hands, he would squander it on reckless schemes, a life of excess. She hadn't saved it out of avarice, but to leave a lifeline, a final guarantee, not for him, but for me, the daughter-in-law she trusted. With trembling hands, I picked up the yellowed envelope. The glue had dried. It opened easily. Inside, a faded, quarter-folded document, and a handwritten letter in shaky purple ink. I unfolded the document first. An adoption certificate, issued by the county clerk's office in 198X. The red seal, though faded, still had enough force to deliver a mortal blow to my mind. Adoptive parents, Matthew Thompson, deceased, and Elizabeth Thompson. Adopted child, Michael Thompson. Date of birth, August 15th, 198X. Reason for adoption, infant abandoned at the town clinic. The world spun. Michael wasn't her biological son. He was an abandoned child Elizabeth had taken in and raised. This devastating secret, buried for over 30 years. Not even Michael knew. I opened the letter. Elizabeth's shaky handwriting. No specific recipient. It felt like it was written for her own conscience. Or for Michael's biological parents, should they ever appear. To those who gave birth to Michael, I found him at the clinic doors on a stormy night. Barely 3 days old, umbilical cord still attached. Crying inconsolably from hunger and cold. My husband and I couldn't have children, so we saw him as a gift from heaven. We named him Michael. We swore to bury this secret so he could grow up in peace, never feeling the stigma of abandonment. I dedicated my life to loving him, caring for him, hoping he'd grow into a good man. But perhaps blood is thicker than water. The older he got, the more distant, calculating, and selfish he became. My heart aches, but I still love him because he is the only son I have. Sophia, if you are reading this, it means I am already gone. I am leaving this money to you. I know you have suffered greatly because of him. Michael is not of my blood, but you have become the daughter I value most. I don't want you to be harmed. If he treats you well, give him a part. But if he behaves like a miserable wretch, it is all yours. Consider it compensation for the youth you have wasted. My tears fell onto the fragile paper. Every word was a knife, but also a bomb. She had prepared for everything. She had looked out for me, even from beyond the grave. She left me not just money, but the truth, the power to choose. The maternal love I had so admired in her for Michael was built on the infinite kindness of a stranger. She had loved her adopted son more than her own life, but received only ingratitude and coldness. I folded the letter and certificate, placing them carefully in my purse. This truth was my weapon, my shield, in the battle that was to come against my despicable husband. The secret of Michael's origin and the $150,000 passbook were a red-hot coal, burning my soul, forging in me a will of steel. My phone vibrated. A new message. From my love, a name I hadn't changed. Bitter irony. Michael had sent a photo of an endless white sand beach with a cheerful message. This weekend, the partners invited me to a resort in Germany. Scenery is beautiful. Wish you were here. At the end of the year, big bonus. I'll make it up to you for everything, honey. He thought I was a naive woman, knowing nothing beyond the kitchen. Easy to deceive. He was wrong. I zoomed in. In the bottom right corner, reflected in a glass table, was Natalie's silhouette, legs crossed, holding a turquoise cocktail. And in the distance, the clock tower of a famous Miami resort I'd always dreamed of visiting, but which Michael always dismissed as too expensive. Germany. He was putting on a clumsy play to hide his life of luxury, built on my sweat and tears. I took a deep breath, suppressing the anger. Not time for a jealous scene. I needed him back, immediately. And the only thing that could lure a greedy man from his den of pleasure was money. I typed a reply, each word carefully weighed, like a hunter setting a trap. I'm in your mom's town, dealing with her affairs. Today, cleaning the house, I found a metal box Mom hid under the kitchen floor. Inside, there's a will, deeds, and some very important documents about your origin she never mentioned. Looks like she left a very large inheritance. You should come back as soon as possible to sign the papers. Otherwise, I don't know how to handle this with the county office. Barely 2 minutes after I sent it, my phone rang nonstop. Michael. I let it ring 3 times. Then, I answered, my voice calm, with a touch of feigned exhaustion. Yes, Michael? His voice was agitated, excitement barely contained. What did you say? What box? What inheritance? Mom had no money to leave anything. I answered in a monotone. I'm not sure, but I saw property deeds, a bunch of papers. The clerk at the county office says it's very important, and the presence of the only son is required. If you don't come, they won't let me touch anything. Michael was silent. Then his tone changed instantly. Affectionate. Urgent. Falsely so. Okay. I'll try to get permission to come back for a few days. Don't show anything to anyone. Don't sign anything. Wait for me to get there. I hung up. A cold smile formed on my lips. He had taken the bait. The scent of money and curiosity had triumphed over his mistress and the beaches of Miami. 2 days later, Michael appeared at our suburban house, dragging his designer suitcase, feigning the exhaustion of a long journey from Europe. In reality, he'd flown 2 hours from Miami. The moment he saw me, he didn't ask how I was, didn't light a candle for his mother. The first words out of his mouth, his eyes greedily scanning the room, were, "Where's the metal box? The papers Mom left? Show them to me now." I was sitting on the sofa, fiddling with a cup of cold tea, calmly observing the man I once called my husband. Only a few days had passed, but he still looked impeccable, a sun-kissed tan contrasting sharply with my haggard, exhausted appearance. I put the cup down, pushed a thick stack of papers towards him. Michael pounced like a hungry beast. But as he opened them, his greedy smile vanished, replaced by astonishment and disbelief. Inside were no deeds, no wills. Just a pile of hospital bills, medication receipts, funeral expenses, cremation costs. All neatly stapled. Total, $22,000. Michael looked up, glaring. "What is this? What are you trying to pull?" I looked him straight in the eye, my voice firm. "These are all the expenses for Mom's treatment for the last 3 months and the funeral costs. I had to empty my savings and borrow from friends to cover everything. You're her only son, the one with the good job abroad. You have to pay this amount to settle the debts. Then we can talk about the inheritance." Michael threw the bills on the table, his face flushing red. "Are you crazy? I just got here. I haven't been paid for the project yet. Where am I supposed to get that much cash?" Besides, Mom was in a public hospital. How could it be so expensive? Medications outside the formulary, specific treatments. I growled, the resentment building for months erupting. Did you think they were cheap? While you were vacationing in your Germany, I had to scrape together money from everywhere so Mom could pass away in peace. You haven't contributed a single cent or a single day of care. And now the first thing you ask about is the inheritance. Michael was caught. His gaze became evasive. He softened his tone, trying to reclaim his image as a responsible husband. I know you had a tough time, but we'll sort out the money. The important thing now is Mom's will. I need to know what she left so I can take care of everything properly. Give me the real box. I saw through his dark soul. He had no intention of paying. He just wanted what was left. His greed and indifference were laid bare, stripped of the cloak of respectability. The box and the important documents are in a safe in her hometown, I said, standing up, brushing off my sleeves as if to remove invisible dirt. If you want to see them, you'll have to come with me. There, before Mom's spirit, we will talk things out clearly. Michael frowned, annoyed at having to travel again. But his greed won. He nodded. Fine, let's go. I need to light a candle for Mom, too. What a hypocrite. He wasn't going back for his mother. He was going back because he believed a treasure was hidden under that humble roof. The house in the small town greeted us with solemn silence. Afternoon sun cast long patches of light across the old tile floor, dust motes dancing in the air, thick with the scent of time. I led Michael to the back room, where I'd placed a small safe I'd just bought. He stood behind me, his breathing shallow with anticipation. I turned the combination. The lock clicked. I took out the yellowed adoption certificate and Elizabeth's handwritten letter, placing them on the wooden table. Look, this is what Mom wanted you to know. Michael picked up the paper. At first, curiosity. Then, his hands began to tremble violently. His face drained of color, from red to a deathly pale. He read the word, adoptive, over and over. He stammered, incoherent.
What?
What is this? This is a joke. This paper is fake. I calmly poured a glass of water, my voice cold. It's a document with the official seal of the county clerk's office from that time. Look closely. Mom kept the secret for over 30 years. You are not her biological son. You are a baby abandoned at the clinic, and she took you in. Impossible. You're lying, Michael shouted, crumpling the paper. I'm her only son. She spoiled me rotten. How could I be adopted? It's precisely because she loved you more than her own flesh and blood that she hid it from you your whole life, I said, meeting his gaze sharp. But how did you repay her? You abandoned her on her deathbed to go party with your mistress. You let her die alone. Michael froze. His aggression vanished, overwhelmed by the secret, by the raw truth. He collapsed into a chair, clutching his head, his face a mask of confusion. His pride as the only son, the authority he'd always assumed, crumbled. I delivered my final blow. I took out a will I drafted myself, based on Elizabeth's instructions and legal advice, and placed it before him. Mom knew you weren't her blood, and seeing your behavior, she wrote down her last wishes. This old house and land she leaves to me, as compensation for taking care of her. I paused, watching his expression. As for you, according to the law, an adopted son has the right to inherit, but he must also assume the deceased's debts. That $22,000 debt from the hospital, plus a loan Mom took from the bank last year to fix the house, which hasn't been paid off yet, you'll have to assume half of it. Michael's head snapped up, his forehead beaded with sweat. He was already drowning in gambling debts and supporting Natalie. More debt? He turned pale with fear. This rundown house is worthless, and you expect me to take on debts? He shouted, calculations of profit and loss swirling in his head. Are you trying to set me up? I'm not setting you up. I'm offering you a way out. I took the divorce papers, already signed by me, from my bag. Let's get a divorce. I will keep this house and assume the entire $22,000 debt. In return, you sign the papers. We'll have no more ties, no shared assets or debts. You'll be free. No burdens, No responsibility of honoring someone you share no blood with. Michael grabbed the papers, examining each clause. His gaze flickered, calculation in every line on his face. He was weighing his options: a debt of over $22,000, responsibility for a deceased adoptive mother, a townhouse he considered useless, or freedom, shedding me and this family, to go off with his young, attractive mistress. He cleared his throat, trying to sound magnanimous, but his relief was palpable. Are you sure you'll take on the entire hospital debt and never ask me for alimony or anything else? I'm sure, I replied, my voice firm, devoid of emotion. I just want this house as a place to honor Mom. You go your own way. Michael smirked, the smile of someone who believes he's shed an enormous weight. He took out a pen and signed the divorce papers. Quick. Decisive. As if severing 15 years of marriage with no nostalgia. As you wish. If you like dealing with problems, that's on you. I've signed. From now on, we go our separate ways. What's mine is mine, and the debts are yours, too. He tossed the papers towards me triumphantly. I'm giving you the house. I have no interest in this godforsaken hole. Thank you, I said, my tone strangely calm. You can leave now and never come back. I held the divorce papers as tears fell silently. I wasn't crying for the end of my marriage. I was crying for Elizabeth. She was right. She had seen through the dark soul of her adopted son. If I hadn't listened to her, if I had softened and given him the passbook, I would be on the street, with nothing, drowning in debt. He, for his immediate gratification, his desire for fleeting pleasures, had lost everything: filial love, marital respect, and the fortune he so desperately craved. I pulled another stack of papers from my purse, thick and neatly stapled, and gently tossed it to Michael. Wait, don't leave so quickly. We have one last parting gift to sort out. Michael frowned with suspicion as he picked up the documents. He opened the first page. His triumphant smile froze. Shattered. They were detailed statements for his credit card and bank transaction history for the last 3 months. Every figure, every party destination, clearly marked in red. Where did you get this? Michael's voice cracked. His hands shook as he flipped through the pages. I answered calmly, my voice like ice. Did you think I was a fool who only knew her way around a kitchen? While Mom was dying, you were using your credit card to buy a Hermes bag for your mistress, pay for 5-star hotels in Miami, and constantly withdraw cash from ATMs near casinos. In total, you spent and racked up debts under the guise of business expenses for over $30,000. Michael turned white. Sweat poured down his face. He tried to defend himself, salvage what little dignity he had left. So what? It's money I earned. I can spend it how I want. Besides, we were married. You're responsible for half of that debt, too. You're wrong. I cut him off, my voice like steel. Read the 3rd clause of the divorce agreement you just signed. Both parties declare they have no shared debts. Any debt incurred in the name of one party or spent for personal purposes will be the sole responsibility of that party. Michael was stunned. He quickly pulled the agreement from his pocket to reread it. In his haste to get rid of the house debt and hospital bills, he hadn't bothered with the fine print. I stepped closer, staring into his panic-stricken eyes. All the money you spend on your mistress and gambling has been proven to be for personal purposes, not for the family's needs. I consulted with a lawyer. Now, not only have you lost the inheritance, but you'll have to carry a debt of over $30,000 all by yourself. Congratulations. You have the freedom you wanted so badly. Michael stood motionless. The paper fell to the floor. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The trap his own greed and arrogance had set had snapped shut, trapping him in a brutal reality he never foresaw. 2 days later, after the divorce was finalized, I received a call from an unknown number. A shaky, hesitant female voice, very different from the arrogant tone in the photos. Natalie, Michael's mistress. She wanted to meet me in a discreet coffee shop, said it was life or death about Michael. When I arrived, Natalie was hunched in an oversized coat, subtle makeup failing to hide her haggard look, the deep dark circles. When she saw me, she looked down, wringing her hands, like a drowned, helpless kitten, not the queen who'd stolen a husband. I sat down. What do you want? If you've come to show off your trophy, you're too late. I've already gifted him to you. Natalie looked up, her eyes red, filled with tears. She shook her head.
No, Sophia.
It's not that. I want to tell you the truth. I'm not pregnant. It was a lie. A charade to force Michael to marry me and get money out of him. Although I had suspected it, hearing it from her own lips sent a chill down my spine at the terrifying calculus of human beings. I smiled bitterly. Oh, really? And now that he's broke and drowning in debt, with nothing left to get, you're trying to back out? Yes. Natalie nodded frantically, tears streaming. I know I was wrong. I thought he was rich, but he's just a fraud, living off money he got from you and your family. Now some loan sharks are after him for gambling debts. I'm afraid it'll splash onto me. I want to leave him, but he won't let me go. He's threatening to post intimate photos of me. She took a deep breath, lowered her voice, looking around. Sophia, I know Michael's planning to hurt you. He's working with a sleazy lawyer to sue you for fraud, for abusing his mother. He's faked messages and manipulated photos to discredit you, so he can claim the inheritance and force you to share his debts. I gripped my purse tightly. Rage consumed me. Michael had truly lost all humanity. After years of deceiving me, he now wanted to corner me with the vilest tactics. Natalie slid a piece of paper across the table with a bank account number. I have proof. I've secretly recorded his calls with the lawyer, and I know the password to his computer where he keeps all his dirty laundry. I'll sell you all the evidence for $3,000. I need the money to pay off a debt and start over. With this, he won't be able to do anything to you. I looked at her, a mixture of bitterness and pity. She was a victim of her own pragmatism and superficiality, trapped in a spiral of money, now betraying her lover to escape. $3,000 isn't small, but compared to my safety and honor, it's worth it. I replied dryly, all right. But first, I need to see the merchandise. If the information's valid, the money will be in your account instantly. Trembling, Natalie connected a small black flash drive to my laptop. She moved quickly, trying to get rid of the burden. Several folders with strange names appeared. Natalie opened them. First, call recordings. Michael's voice, clear and full of resentment. My wife is an idiot. A couple of threats, and she'll get scared. Prepare the lawsuit for abusing my mother to death. Add the photos I doctored the other day. I have to get that house back one way or another, or the loan sharks will skin me alive. My blood boiled. I had shared my life, sacrificed everything, and to him, I was just a pawn, a fool to be used. Then came files of sick chats with other women, not just Natalie. But what shocked me most was the last folder, screenshots and an Excel file detailing his online gambling activities. Thousands of dollars transferred every night. Bets on international sites. Natalie pointed to a picture of a company seal. This is the most important thing. He created a shell company and used this seal to forge contracts and embezzle funds from the company where he works. He laundered the money through virtual casinos. I heard him say he's already stolen over $100,000. A shiver ran down my spine. Michael wasn't just a bad husband, an ungrateful son. He was a full-blown white-collar criminal. He'd sunk so deep into the mire, and now he wanted to drag me down with him. I closed the laptop, took out the flash drive, clutching it. Small, but it felt heavy as a ton. It contained the entire sordid truth of Michael's life. It was the sword of justice I needed to put an end to his plans. I transferred the $3,000 to Natalie. Seeing the confirmation, her face relaxed slightly, but her eyes were still fearful. Thank you. I'm leaving. Be careful. He's like a cornered, rabid dog now. He's capable of anything. She grabbed her bag, pulled her hood over her head, and quickly disappeared. I was left alone, drinking a bitter, cold coffee, feeling a mix of disgust and compassion for myself, for Elizabeth, and even for Michael. He had destroyed his own life with his greed. Now, with this flash drive, I was no longer the passive victim. Back home, I found the last piece of the puzzle. Natalie said Michael had a secret compartment behind the bookshelf in his old home office. I called a locksmith, claimed I'd lost the key. After an hour, he opened the complex electronic lock. Inside, a tightly shut metal box. I used a crowbar. Inside was a will, but not Elizabeth's. A fake one Michael had commissioned from his lawyer. In it, Elizabeth left all her assets, including the town property and the money Michael suspected she had, to her only son. What chilled my blood was the date. On that day, Elizabeth was in a deep coma in the hospital, connected to machines. How could a person in a coma sign a will? The signature was a shaky scroll, but compared to old letters from Elizabeth, the forgery was obvious. Michael had guided her hand, or worse, he had faked the consent of a dying woman to legitimize his greed. Tears of rage streamed down my cheeks. In his mother's final moments, while I watched over her, he was plotting to steal her last breath. Michael's lack of scruples had hit rock bottom. I photographed every page and sent a copy to my own lawyer. This is proof of forgery and fraud. I want to prepare a lawsuit, not just to defend myself, but to put him in jail if he dares to bother me again. My lawyer responded immediately. The evidence is irrefutable. With this and the flash drive, he has no escape. The law will not let such a soulless being go unpunished. Michael came looking for me one afternoon, but not alone. With him, a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses and a leather briefcase, a shrewd, shifty look in his eyes. They pounded on the door. I opened it. Before I could speak, Michael barged in, aggressive. He pointed a finger at me, hissing, "You're very clever, Sophia. You tricked me into signing that damned agreement. Do you think you're going to get away with the old woman's $150,000 so easily? I've already checked the information on the savings account." The other man, his lawyer, adjusted his glasses. "Good afternoon. I am Mr. Perez's legal representative. My client alleges he was deceived and coerced into signing the asset division agreement. We request its annulment and a new division of the inheritance." I smiled bitterly, invited them to sit, but offered no water. Coerced? He's a grown man in his right mind who signed with his own hand before a judge. Now that he sees the money, he wants to back out. Michael slammed his fist on the table. "What game are you playing? If you don't share the money, I will post on social media that you had lovers and abused my mother to death. I will get you fired. I will make it so you can never get back on your feet." He started showing me screenshots of manipulated messages, innocent conversations twisted into innuendos, my complaints of exhaustion turned into curses wishing for his mother's death. Michael's depravity surpassed my imagination. I no longer felt anger, just a deep disgust. The man I had shared my life with was a demon, willing to trample on his ex-wife's honor and his mother's memory for money. Silently, I activated the recorder I'd hidden. I let him talk. Let him spew all his garbage, so he could tie the noose around his own neck. When he finished, I went to my room and got the laptop and all the documents. I placed the small flash drive on the glass table. Before you sue me for abuse or fraud, I suggest you watch this. Here is all the evidence of Mr. Perez's embezzlement, his money laundering through betting, and most importantly, the proof that he forged my mother's will. I pushed the fake will towards them, and next to it, a copy of the medical report proving that on the date of the signature, my mother-in-law was in a deep coma. Forgery of documents and fraud. The lawyer here will know better than I how many years in prison that carries. "And you, Mr. Perez," I said, turning to Michael, "how do you think the CEO of your company will react when he receives the recording of you planning to embezzle from the company?" Michael's face turned white as a sheet. The pale lawyer picked up the medical report, looking at it in horror. He realized he'd gotten involved in a serious criminal case. "Mr. Perez, you didn't tell me any of this." He quickly gathered his things. "This has signs of a felony. I cannot participate. I have to protect my license." The lawyer rushed out, leaving Michael alone, cowering like a cornered rat. His arrogance had vanished, leaving only fear. "What are you going to do, Sophia?" he stammered. "Are you going to send me to prison?" After everything, we were husband and wife. I looked at him, no shred of compassion. Husband and wife. That relationship died the day you abandoned your mother to go with your mistress. You have two options. Either you disappear from my life forever and never open your mouth again, or I send all of this to the police right now. Michael staggered to his feet. He knew if I spoke, his life was over. He'd not only lose his job and reputation, but prison was waiting. He headed for the door, defeated. But before he left, I decided to give him one last gift. A truth that would destroy his last hope. Oh, one more thing. Do you dream of a house and kids with your mistress, Natalie? Let me tell you, the pregnancy was fake. She was never pregnant. Michael stopped dead, turning with wild eyes. What are you saying? You're making it up to separate us. Why would I make anything up about a broke man like you? I shrugged. She was the one who came to me. She sold me all this evidence to get money to run away from you. She said, since you have nothing left, she had to escape as soon as possible. Michael was petrified. The news was like a punch to the gut. He had lost everything for that woman: mother, wife, money, honor, and now even an imaginary child and the mistress he was supporting. He let out a cry of pain, clutching his head. His desperate scream echoed down the hallway. He stumbled outside and collapsed onto the ground. I closed the door, separating my world from his madness. I slid down to the floor, exhausted. I didn't feel the euphoria of victory, only an infinite weariness. I had won the legal battle, but the price was scars on my soul and a broken faith in people. Outside, night was falling, but I knew the sun would rise tomorrow. I had to get up and start building a new life. Shortly after, a lawyer named Mr. Miller contacted me. He was Elizabeth's secret legal representative. He revealed that Elizabeth, suspecting her son's nature, had drafted a second will. In addition to what I already knew, she owned a priceless ground-floor apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, inherited from her parents. Its value exceeded $500,000. The will stipulated that the apartment would be exclusively mine if Michael proved to be a bad son, or if we divorced due to his fault. Elizabeth had foreseen my vulnerability. She had left me this protective shield. I cried with gratitude. Her love went beyond any blood ties. I moved into the Manhattan apartment. One stormy night, Natalie appeared at my door, her face bruised. Michael knows about the apartment. He's gone crazy. He says he's going to kill you. That same night, Michael forced his way in, armed with a knife. Where is my money? That apartment is mine. As he lunged, I sprayed his face with pepper spray. Just then, the police, whom I had already alerted, burst in and arrested him. His madness led him straight to prison, the inevitable end for a life of greed and betrayal. Michael was sentenced to 7 years for multiple felonies. I never saw him again. With the inheritance money, I opened a small bookstore cafe on the ground floor of the apartment and named it Elizabeth's Legacy. It became a haven of peace, a place where I began to heal. One sunny afternoon, a man walked in. He smiled, and his smile was as warm as the autumn sun. I smiled back, feeling a calm I hadn't experienced in a long time. The past was locked behind prison bars, and the future was opening up before me with the scent of new paper and the golden light of a new beginning. Life is sometimes fair. Those who sow the wind reap the whirlwind, and those who keep a pure heart, in the end, find peace. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever faced such a shocking betrayal? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.